Have you ever just, looked out at a landscape and really wondered how it all fits together? Well, today we're going on a journey. We're going to start with just one single bison and zoom all the way out to our entire living planet. We are going to uncover the hidden rules that connect every single living thing.
Yeah, sure, you see the obvious stuff, trees, water, rocks, but there's so much more going on. Ecology is basically the science of all those invisible connections. It's the silent story of how that fish depends on the tree and the tree depends on the soil. It's this incredible web of life happening right in front of our eyes, and we're about to decode it.
So to understand the whole story, you gotta start at the beginning, right? With chapter 1. We're gonna build this whole thing up layer by layer, starting with the absolute smallest unit of life and zooming our way out.
Okay, let's start right here, with one single living thing. In ecology, we call this an organism. That could be this bison, it could be a blade of grass under its hoof, or hey, it could even be you listening to this right now. It's that first basic building block of life.
But life is rarely a solo act, right? So let's zoom out a bit, and you see a whole herd, a group of the same species, like all these bison hanging out together. That's what we call a population. And this is where the story really starts to get interesting, because now they're interacting, they're competing, they're creating the next generation.
Let's zoom out one more time. It's definitely not just bison out here. You've got populations of hawks and snakes, prairie dogs, and all that grass they're eating. So when you bring all these different living populations together in one place, you get what's called a community. It's like the entire cast of living characters all sharing the same stage.
So quick recap, right? We started with the individual organism, we zoomed out to a group of them, the population, and then we zoomed out again to all the different groups, the whole community. But this is only half the picture. What is all this life interacting with?
So let's see how this whole thing builds. Now we're going to add the actual stage where all these living characters are performing. Because, as you're about to see, the non-living parts are just as important as the living ones.
Exactly. You can't just have a bunch of animals and plants floating in a void. They need sunlight for energy, they need water to drink, air to breathe, and soil for nutrients. These non-living things are the other, absolutely crucial half of the story.
So in ecology, we split the world into these two big categories. You've got the living stuff, the plants, the animals, the biota. And then you have the non-living, or abiotic factors that support them. The sun, the water, the rocks. They aren't alive, but life would be totally impossible without them.
Okay, here are the official terms. The living parts are called the biota. Pretty easy to remember, just think biology. And the non-living parts are the abiota. That A at the front basically just means not, as in not alive. Simple enough, and when you combine the biota and the abiota, well, you get to the next level.
This brings us to one of the most important ideas in all of ecology. This is where it all comes together, the living and the non-living, finally forming a complete functioning system.
And boom, you get an ecosystem. I love this graphic because it really shows it. An ecosystem is like a giant interactive puzzle where every single piece, every animal, every plant, every drop of water, every ray of sunshine fits together. It's the community of life and its physical environment all tangled up together. So here's the key takeaway. An ecosystem isn't just a place. It's a dynamic system of interactions. A forest is an ecosystem, a lake is an ecosystem. Heck, even a tiny little puddle can be its own miniature ecosystem. It's all about those connections between the living and the non-living.
But what's actually powering all these interactions? I mean, what makes the river flow or the plants grow? The answer is energy. And to really get our heads around energy, we have to look at two fundamental laws of the entire universe.
This is the basic idea, right? Nothing happens without energy. It's the currency of the universe. It's what makes everything go, and it's what's exchanged in every single process inside an ecosystem, from a plant turning sunlight into sugar to a wolf chasing down its dinner.
So here's the first rule, the first law of thermodynamics. It's basically the law of conservation. It says the total amount of energy in the universe is fixed. It just changes form. The sun's light energy becomes chemical energy in a plant, which then becomes kinetic energy in a running deer. The energy is always there, it's just wearing a different costume.
But of course there's a catch. Just when you think it's all neat and tidy, physics throws you a curveball. The first law says you can't lose energy, but the second law, the second law explains why you can never, ever break even. I absolutely love this analogy.
Every single time energy changes form, the universe takes a little cut, like a tax. And that tax is paid in the form of low-quality, useless heat. This means that every time energy gets passed along, it gets a little bit less useful for doing actual work.
Here's a perfect everyday example. The whole point of a light bulb is to turn electrical energy into light energy. But as we all know, it gets hot, right? That heat is the tax. It's wasted energy that isn't doing its job of lighting up your room. The exact same thing happens at every single step in a food chain.
So we know all this energy starts with the sun, but plants can't just grab all of it. In fact, of all the solar energy that bombards our planet, the amount that plants actually capture and convert through photosynthesis is this, a shockingly tiny fraction, 0.023%.
That's right, that infinitesimally small number is what powers pretty much every ecosystem on Earth. It is the foundation of almost every food web. It's the energy that becomes the plants, that becomes the animals that eat the plants, and on and on. It's just a wild reminder of how incredibly precious that little sliver of energy really is.
Okay, so we've gone from a single organism all the way to a full ecosystem, and we've talked about the energy that runs the whole show. Now it's time for our final and our absolute biggest zoom out.
And this is it, the big one, the biosphere. This is the sum of all life on Earth. It's the thin layer on our planet where life exists, from the deepest part of the ocean to the highest reaches of the atmosphere. It's the ultimate ecosystem that contains all the other ones.
And this slide just brings it all together so perfectly. Look at that. We started with one organism. We built up to a population, then a community, combined that with the non-living stuff to get an ecosystem, and then finally, we put all the ecosystems together to see the entire biosphere. Each level is nested right inside the next one. It's beautiful, really.
And so that leaves us with this question. After seeing all these layers, it's pretty clear that nothing exists by itself. Every single organism, every one of your actions, is a tiny thread in this vast interconnected system. So the real question is, what role are you going to play in this incredible planetary web of life?
Subscribe for more from Mr. Coded Biology.